In result, each line of the grid represents one test, and each column represents one specific attribute. Some lines might be physical tests, and other lines might be simulations. This video teaches you how to create and edit tests in Result. You'll learn how to modify a test's attributes and how to upload attachments, such as photos and videos. Not only will you learn how to manually do these things, but you'll also learn how to perform the actions via the command line interface. Okay, let's get started. To manually create a new test, navigate to Result and right-click on a test or on the empty grid. Then select Create New Test from the context menu. Since each test needs to be assigned to a project, use this drop-down list to select the appropriate project. Then give the test a name. These two fields are the only mandatory information. So at this point, you could already click on the Save button to create the test. But first, I'll quickly explain the other options on the screen. These two check boxes work together. So you'll notice that if the first is deactivated, the second one is too. Keep this box checked if you want to create another test record immediately after saving this one. In other words, if you want to create several tests in one sitting, so you want this form to stay open after saving. And keep this box checked if you want the entries below to be cleared after saving. So conversely, remove the check mark if you're creating a lot of tests that all belong to the same project. That way you won't have to select the project again each time. Metadata templates are a tool to help you create tests more quickly. The basic idea is that every template includes a predefined set of attributes and attribute values. If you select a template, then all of the template's attributes and attribute values will automatically be applied to the test and can be modified further if necessary. I'll skip the metadata templates in this example, but there's something you might want to keep in mind if you create a lot of tests in the future. Okay, I'm going to remove this checkbox, which means that when I save the test, I will automatically be redirected to the test details page. This is the test that I've just created. Here, I can manually add attributes, and I can manually upload attachments, such as photos and videos. Okay, let's give it a try and start adding a few example attributes to our test. Attributes are key value pairs, which must have already been created in your system in advance. Each attribute has a key, also called an identifier, and the key matches a corresponding value. So for example, in a crash test, we have a vehicle speed. This identifier is then matched with the corresponding value. Let's add another example attribute. This time, let's specify the type of barrier that was used in the crash test. For example, let's say it was a mobile deformable barrier. Repeat the process to add as many other attributes as necessary, and then save the settings when you're done. Reload the page to see your attributes displayed here in the list. Okay, next let's learn how to upload attachments. For example, let's add a few photos to the test. This can be done by clicking on Add Files and then selecting the photos from their location on your computer. Finally, click on Upload when you're finished. Again, I can reload the page to see the photos that have been uploaded. When you're done, upload other types of attachments the same way. So upload the necessary videos, documents, channels, etc. To exit the test details when you're finished, simply click on Result. This will take you back to the test grid. Now that you know how to manually create and edit a test, I want to show you how to perform these same actions via the command line interface. Once you've downloaded and installed the tool, you can execute basic functions in Result, such as creating tests, adding attributes, and uploading attachments. First off, let's look at how commands are structured. There are two main root commands, project and test. Project commands are mainly used for creating and deleting tests, and test commands are mainly used for uploading and downloading attributes and attachments. So to enter a command, you'll enter SCALE.sdm. Then you'll enter project or test, followed by the name of a command, and if needed, one or more flags. And just as a heads up, all the different commands and flags are described in the user manual as well as in the command line interface itself. So there's no need to memorize this information. I'll just show you a few basic examples to help you understand the concept. In our first example, let's learn how to create a test. If you were going to do this manually, then you would select the appropriate project and enter a test name. We'll complete these same steps with the command line interface. So first, we'll find out which projects are available to select. And we'll do this by entering the command project list. The output is a list of available projects. Each project has a unique ID. Now that we know which projects are available, we'll enter the command project create test. Then we'll use the flag name to give the test a name. And we'll use the flag project ID to specify the project. The output is the newly created test. And here we can see the test's unique ID. In our second example, let's add attributes to the test. If you were going to do this manually, then you would specify the attributes identifier and its value. This can also be done via the command line interface. This time, enter the command test set attributes, and then use the flag test ID to specify which test you're working with. Finally, enter the attributes identifier and value like so. The output shows you the test's ID, the name of the identifier, and the value. In our last example, let's add an attachment to the test. We'll do this by entering the command test add attachment. Then we'll use the flag test ID to specify which test we're working with. And we'll use the flag attachment type to specify what sort of an attachment this is, for example, a photo. Finally, we'll enter the file path to the attachment. The output shows us that the photo has been uploaded. In this video, you learned how to create and modify tests in Result, both manually and via the command line interface. If you want to explore the topic further, be sure to check out our user manual. It provides descriptions of all the different commands and flags that you can use in the command line interface. It also includes tips and tricks for working more efficiently, such as using metadata templates or uploading attributes in a CSV file.